one of my peers, Josh, and I get to one meal like, oh, it's missing powdered milk. It's the curry meal. And on the shelf, there's this bag that, like, oh, this is clearly powdered milk. I put it on the scale, lo and behold, it's the exact weight we need it to be. And it's like, well, this is, divine providence that this is here and ready for us. All right, the year is 2020. I was a intern with Youth Dynamics, kind of sent to Idaho because of the COVIDs. It was a weird time. We all remember, well, most of us. But yeah, we were packing for an owyhee trip. I'm pretty unsure of the systems around here. I'm brand new. I wasn't even planning on being here. But when you pack up a trip, it's this big task. So we'll send a team down into Boise to go to the store, buy all the food, and come back. Then we spend the afternoon sorting all the food, getting it organized by meal, measuring out all the rice and other ingredients, labeling everything. That way, when we're out in the field, it's all ready to go and we don't have to do all that work in the backcountry. It's a big process, big task of learning for our summer staff, volunteers, anybody who works with us. And I was thrown into the mix of it. And we're getting late in the day, everyone's a little tired. We all know we have personal packing to do, so we're like, whew, okay, we're almost there, we're pushing through, we're in the kitchen, and we're doing our final checks, make sure everything's all sorted, ready to go. And one of my peers, Josh, and I get to one meal like, oh, it's missing powdered milk. It's the curry meal. And on the shelf, there's this bag that, oh, this is clearly powdered milk. I put it on the scale, lo and behold, it's the exact weight we need it to be. And it's like, well, this is, divine providence that this is here and ready for us. So I throw it in, mark it off the sheet, and move on. And we're pretty proud of ourselves, work we've done. It's a pretty new team, first time doing this whole process. We go to bed going yeah, we're ready to go. Next day we go to Rome. It's an owyhee training trip. And we put on the river and it's cold and there's this big cloud in the sky that would later be described as a flying lake. Just big, ominous storm cloud. And we're all right, we're gonna try to race to camp. And we get to camp and we're we gotta get set up. We set up the big pavilion. It starts to just downpour. So Ryan and a couple of our trainees are outside digging moats around the tent so that water doesn't flow through it. The wind is blowing, the tent's shaking. I'm brand new, and I was told to kind of just go manage myself, as in, don't get too involved. You'll just be in the way. So I'm in the tent trying to figure out how to even manage in this environment. It's brand new for me. James, one of our full-time staff at the time, is teaching one of our new summer staff how to cook, and it's the curry meal. And they're getting the stove set up, doing the thing, all the tents blowing around, the whole thing. And they get to the part of the meal where they add in the powdered milk to the curry. They pour it in, and the tent just fills with this zesty, lemony smell. And I hear James go, "Can powdered milk go bad?" And it's quite the conundrum. Eventually somebody decides they'll, scrape their finger on the inside of the bag and lick it. Bold move for potentially spoiled powdered milk. And we come to the conclusion that that was not powdered milk at all, but rather lemonade powder. We buy the Country Time brand because we're sophisticated people around here. And we determined that's what was put in our curry. And, well, too late to turn back now. So they finish preparing the meal. Eventually everyone comes inside and gathers, and we give it a taste. And you know what? It was tolerable. In that moment, there's something about adventure being the secret ingredient of most of the meals in such an environment, and something about flying lakes and new places made me kind of enjoy the Country Time curry. Mind you, I had to fess up to my mistake, and key learning moment there, and I have not dared try to make Country Time curry at home. It is a story that lives on in infamy around here, especially when we're training our new staff about how to, do the meal prepping, food prepping before we head out on a trip. And also it's a good lesson in like giving yourself grace. Like when we're learning, make some pretty big mistakes. Sometimes it's learning things like food. Other times it's learning about like who we are spiritually. Sometimes we just get it wrong. Think of like the disciples, particularly Peter. It's often wrong in his assumptions about Christ, but there was always grace given and learning to be found. And that story reminds me of those like lessons and moments. So yeah, if you're new to Streamside stories and youth dynamics, glad you're here. We'll put more in the description about who we are as a ministry, links to our website, that kind of thing. Basically, we use adventures and relationships to share the love of Christ with young people, and we're glad to have you along. Thanks.